knows, by the way.
All right, buddy, you're right in the way. All right, so back to that escape really quick. I just want to explain kind of how to think about that escape conceptually, the one with the double underhooks, right? So if you think about like what we're trying to do with jiu-jitsu in our position and dominant position, stuff like that, and defending the dominant positions, we're always trying to get people out of the box, right? Like she's got her legs in the box right now, which is a huge control. She's got her underhooks, which are inside the box, which is huge control. So she has two really strong elements of control here that make it really hard. I can't turn my hips and I can't turn my shoulders, so I have to start beating those, right? But I want you guys to think of it as you were defending your guard or defending those positions as well. Whereas when I'm on my side, right, not only am I trying to get her out of that box, but I'm trying to defend it, right? She's able to put her leg across the box, which is kind of still has an element of control. She can still block my hips and stuff like that, right? But as I clear this, I want you guys to bring your knees in and try to tuck your leg in as close to your chest as possible, right? Because what that does is it kills her opportunity to set that hook back in during the escape, right? I'm in a really good position now. She doesn't have those elements of control. And the more I turn my body, it's gonna be hard for her to come up and chair sit and stuff like that, right? Especially if I have this leg. So I might be, if she loses one of these grips or something, I could just continue a Granby roll and possibly just come up and just finish off with a shoulder roll, right? If I'm lucky, I'm fast enough about it and explosive. But by blocking off the sides and giving myself opportunities to escape in other ways and just kind of be creative with it, because not every escape that we do works the first time. Sometimes you have to chain it with something else, maybe try a different approach, right? But I'm pulling this hook out, I'm stopping it from coming back in, but I'm also stopping her progress to the next step. But what I'm trying to say is if I don't pull my knees in and I just like do a hip raise, you see she's still got access to the box, right? My first priority is to close that access to the box. So I'm bringing myself, I'm making a wall over here so she can no longer get that control back. And then I can rotate and start to push myself across and get to a better position, okay? Yeah, really heavy. All right, so let's work from that position a little bit. This is gonna be a little bit of a review for you kids since we just did this in your class. And we've been doing it all week actually, so it's a really good technique from reverse. So we're ending up in this position here, low on the hips generally. Most of the time when you get to this position, you're gonna be down here with hip control. And this is really strong with good grips, with a belt grip or something. You can hold somebody here for a decent amount of time, but it's not a very stable position because Michelle has the ability to build frames with her forearms and elbows, which means she has really good hip movement here, right? She's blocking me from moving up any closer. She can open my elbow and escape. She can start to escape towards my back. She has options, but the problem is for me to try to regain control, it forces me up to my knees where now she's gonna have space to maneuver again, right? So it's a really tricky position until we can fix it and make it better for ourselves, right? So I don't want to hang out here close to the legs for very often because it's just not very strong. What I want to do is either use my hands as C's, like hooks like this, right on the top of her hip bones, okay? I can grab onto the pants if there's any fabric. There's not much here to work with. I can grab onto the skirt if I need to. I personally love to grab onto the belt for this. I usually start with the hook grips on the hips and then work my way up to the belt. But what I have to do here is get her arms in a position where she can no longer frame, right? It's exactly what I was just talking about. She's trying to close off the box as much as possible and push me out of it, right? But I need to find a way to get under those arms. So right away, I'm gonna start pinching my elbow up underneath hers, and I'm gonna try to push my hip bone up under her other arm as well, and start sliding myself back and getting up nice and high, okay? Now the nice thing about this position is I don't have to be very heavy in this position. All I have to do is keep her shoulders pinned on the ground, and I've taken away a ton of her defense from this position. But what I'm really looking to do is get her elbows to a point where they're above 90 degrees from her head, right? So if I'm here and her arm can pinch down, she has power there, okay? She can generate power when it's below 90 degrees, okay? But if I can bring this arm up above 90 degrees away from her hip, now when she tries to push back with power, like she can't really generate any power. She's in like a muscle deficit. and she can't like start that power from happening, okay? She's just in a bad spot. So when I get these arms up, I usually like to grab onto the jacket on the sides, on both sides, right? And just kind of keep myself in this position, keep my head down nice and low, always pushing my hip back and always pushing my elbow and pinching it tight to her body. I want her arms up as high as possible. If you're with somebody really big, I'm gonna try not to hurt Michelle, but there's nothing wrong with getting up really high and like laying on the arm and kind of on the face a little bit. But you're in a very stable position here because she can no longer bridge with her hips and affect you anymore, okay? I'm so far away from her hips, if she bridges in, it's not gonna bother me in any way. So I can take my time here, find the right timing, and go to the mount, okay? So I have a couple different options. My favorite option going to the mount here is by grabbing the foot. So what I'm gonna do is reach down with my outside hand. Okay, this hand's gonna stay exactly where it is. My hip is gonna keep controlling her arm on that side. This hand doesn't really have a job right now. So I'm gonna reach down and I'm gonna grab onto my pinky toe on this foot, okay? And that's actually a pretty big detail. I don't wanna grab onto my ankle. I don't wanna grab the side of my foot. I wanna grab right over top of my toes, especially my pinky toe, okay? I'm gonna pull this foot up as close to my chest as I can, and then I'm gonna walk it as close to her belt as I can, all the way across, and then hook my heel on the outside of her leg, her hip, her belt, whatever works for your body type and your flexibility level. I'm gonna hook it, and then I'm gonna use this heel to pull my knee to the ground, dump all my weight into my left elbow, push off my other foot, and just basically step to the mount, okay? It may seem overcomplicated. A lot of people always ask, like, why can't I just step to the mount? Well, because if I just step to the mount and she's ready for it, because she knows exactly what I'm gonna do in this position, right? She knows I'm gonna go to the mount. If I just step and she feels me going, she's gonna trap me in half guard, okay? I can't get my legs higher than she can get her legs in this position. I just can't do it. So if she really wants to trap me in half guard, she can do that, okay? She's still not in a great position. I can just pull my leg out, right? But once she starts getting frames, then she's gonna be in a great spot to hook, lift, come up, sweep, hit the back. So many options for her. So I can't let her hook my legs, I can't let her grab my leg, put me in any kind of half guard, butterfly, or anything. We have to do this complicated route to ensure that we get there every single time, because just stepping is risky, okay? If you feel like you can step, I'm gonna show you guys another reason I don't like to step. I learned this by grabbing this leg, pulling it down, stepping over really fast. But if her hips are facing that direction, I don't have any weight in that back leg, she's gonna trap it in half guard, and now she's probably gonna end up on my back, or half guard or something, somewhere I don't want her to be, right? This mount attack is virtually flawless because I don't give her any space or time to work for any kind of recovery or escape, okay? So I grab my pinky toe, pulling my foot up, right? It doesn't take too much flexibility. Now the reason why I'm grabbing it is because I'm not flexible. If you're flexible enough to pull this thing all the way up to your face and pull it across the body, by all means do that. But what's gonna happen is she's gonna pull her leg up and try to close off the box, right? Because she's smart. It's exactly what she's supposed to do. But there's always gonna be a hole that I can create right here. That's what I'm trying to pull my foot through, okay? If I'm not flexible, so I'm gonna have to go up a little higher with my hips to make a bigger hole here. And I'm just gonna pull my foot right through that hole, hook, drive, and go to the mount, okay? You realize there's a little element of flexibility, so you're gonna have to kind of work with each other to how far. But once I get here, right, she's gonna bring her bottom, her close leg up to defend the box. Some people are stupid and they're gonna put their foot on like this. This is why I don't ever want to see this happen in this class, because this does nothing. I can step over that, I can do anything I want with that. You pull your leg up as far as it goes to close the box off. Pull both of them up, look. That's gonna be hard for me to get to the mount, right? So I want you guys to bring the leg up, bring your other leg through the hole, drive to the mount. And the better you get at this, you're gonna be able to do it smoothly and effectively, so much that the person on the bottom won't even know you're doing it. I could be sitting here for 2 minutes, she has no idea what's happening. Maybe I'm like messing with her belt or her legs or something, and the whole time I'm just very casually, by the time I get here, now she realizes I'm going to the mount and it's too late, because my weight never shifted until I started to lift my butt. But by that point it's too late, and I'm in a great position to just finish the mount. Okay. Make sense? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. All right, so a couple things to think about when you're dealing with a larger opponent. In jiu-jitsu, you're trying to use your body and your leverage basically as much as possible to neutralize other people's strengths, right? Matt's significantly stronger than I am, right? If he wanted to bench press me off in these positions, I'm sure he could if he really wanted to. So I have to think about that and try to put his arms in positions where he doesn't have that power to work with anymore, right? If I'm down here, right, in this kind of position here, my elbow is not even on the mat. I don't feel super strong in this position right here, right? And if Matt, I'm sure if he just grabbed me and gave me a big strong push, like, I'm gonna go flying, right? I feel like I don't have good weight distribution and stuff like that, right? Because his arms are in a position where, like, he's practically in a bench press position. He's ready to go, right? But one thing I can do to kind of make this a little bit stronger for myself, especially with larger opponents, you don't have to be underneath this arm, okay? Like, I don't have to get this arm up and like this. If I can, this is great. Look at where his arm is on the inside. It's up next to his face. He's not gonna be able to generate any power with that arm anymore. He's only got this arm to work with. So I'm in a very good position here. So rotate a little bit this way. Can you guys see that? Like, I'm bringing this arm up as high as I can, right? My weight is basically just on his face right now. My armpit's on his face, I'm sorry about that. But like, this arm is neutralized completely, okay? I can also, if I can't get to push it up like that, maybe he's starting to push down on my hips or something, I can just sit on this arm, right? His arm is in a muscle deficit right now. He's not in a bench press position. For Matt to try to pick me up with that arm is gonna be really hard. Harder, like, I can just lift my hips up, my feet up, and put all my weight on top of him. He's not gonna go anywhere there. So it's important for you guys to understand you're always trying to do that with your opponent, to put their arms and legs in positions where they can't generate power to push back against you, especially if they're bigger than you. Okay, so I hope that stuff makes sense. When your body's in like 90-degree positions, your arms especially and your legs, that's like a ready position to go. Anything past that is a deficit for that muscle that's trying to work. That's why if you've ever done squats or anything like that, right, with weight on your back, like people always go down to 90, right? That's a technical squat, and then back up. But when you do like a deep squat way down here, this is a deficit. Getting back to here takes a lot more, significantly more energy to go from here to here than it does to get from here to here, okay? It's much, much harder. So anytime you can force somebody into a position where their elbows are open past 90, their arms are open past 90, this way, whatever, you're always gonna be stronger than them. Well, not always, most of the time. Your chances of being stronger than them are significantly higher. So don't be afraid to really push those people's arms up over their heads, right? If you can't get it overhead, just sit on it, right? Rest your weight right on this part of the arm, and he won't be able to move you so easily, okay? All right, keep going. 1, 2, 3. All right, Yoshi boy, down in front. All right, so from this position, we have a number of options once we actually get around to the mount, right? So my favorite, if I can, is always going to be this. So as I'm here, I'm always biding my time and really trying to get my elbow under their arm as much as I can, just to kind of expose their elbow off the mat, right? So as I'm here, I'm kind of just like pinching this in tight, because I'm going to use that if their elbow's off the mat. I'm going to use it against them. And a lot of times people will do that. They're going to try to grab you, try to push you and stuff, so they're going to be in the right position already, okay? So I'm bringing my foot across, going to the mount. So this time, instead of posturing up in the mount, I'm gonna keep my weight really low and pretty much dump all my weight into this elbow right here. And I'm gonna start to slide this elbow around the head, okay? And I have a couple options, right? If I can't turn her upper body and I bring this across, I can grab onto the arm here. And it's possible to do a head and arm choke from this position. It's not the best choke in the world. It's really actually just more painful than anything else because of the way the shoulder is situated. But you can certainly make people tap out from this, and it's a legitimate submission. I would just grab on, basically just drop my weight down and squeeze in that position. It's very terrible, right? But what I'm really trying to do from here is get up underneath and drive my elbow under and push her to the side as I do that, okay? Because now I'm in this kind of side position. I keep my arm on top to trap her arm. My right arm can reach around and just grab on her wrist, and I'm beginning to set up a gift wrap. So now my left hand goes through the hole. Left hand goes through the hole and grabs my own wrist, and now I'm free to chair sit. And go right to the back. underhook on the bottom, the choking hand on top, and I can start our attack chain from last week. Yoshi, stop. 1 second. Muay Thai.
Okay.
All right, bud. All right. So again, from here, get them nice and high, leg across, keep it down, and drive. Try to rotate them onto their side. Grab the wrist. My hand goes through the hole, grabs my own wrist, nice and tight. Knee up behind the head to make my pillow. Heel comes in tight, right? Just hug really tight, pull them with you. Chair sit, back to the other side. Okay. So that's kind of my number one preferred attack. There's a couple other things that can happen. If you mess up on this and it doesn't work, so I got that. If it doesn't quite work, then you just end up in the mount. You've got a great mount, the arm is strapped. But you can also do this into an arm bar. Okay. As I'm coming up, I start to circle around. I'm in a really good position to go through with our arm bar. If you guys remember that, we're gonna do that soon as we get into mount attacks. But there's lots of opportunities there for chokes, Americanas, chair sit to the back and all that. It's just a really strong position, especially when you get that gift grab.
Just from like a points standpoint.
It's amazing, it's an 8-point sequence.
Okay. So if you don't have to keep them in mount while you're rolling.
You have to keep them out. So get that amount for 3 seconds. So if you were competing, you're doing this competition, it's a great sequence. Right here, there's nothing. Here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 points. After 3 seconds, 4 points with the hook seam. So you just have to be cognizant of the fact that during that transition to the back, you can't leave the mounted or fat boy position, or technical mount, whatever you call it, until that 3 seconds is expired. Otherwise, they don't give you the 4 points for the mount. Yeah. So as long as you take your time with it and be heavy and patient, it's a good thing to like keep in your brain too, because when you're doing these moves, don't rush through them. The more you rush, the more space you leave, the more people can escape, right? Take your time, be tight, be patient, count out 3 seconds, go to the next move, okay? All right, let's keep going. 1, 2, 3. All right, so just really quick, I didn't really mention this too much. I kind of mentioned it in passing to a couple groups. The gift wrap is so powerful that once you have it set up, like even if I were to do this just from the mount and I don't turn her shoulders at all, the moment I get this wrist under control and connect to my own wrist, I have so much control over her upper body, like I can force her onto the side and chair sit, right? Like I don't have to, because sometimes when you're doing that and you're sliding your arm up and over, they're not going to their side very much. Use your gift wrap to force that. Use that to trap the arm so you can get here. If you want, just push on the arm, grab the lat. Like it's real easy to rotate people's shoulders with this gift wrap. Like this is so debilitating for that person. To turn back is hard. You end up choking yourself a little bit because you can't breathe in there. And then once I can connect my hand inside, it's really strong. I can pull her up her body. Okay. So yeah, if you don't get it right the first time, keep the gift wrap and keep playing with it. Or switch to the arm bar if you want. We'll deal with the arm bar and stuff like that in the next couple weeks. We got lots of stuff to do from the mount. Cool. Great job tonight, everybody.